Morning YouTube, welcome to Moose Preparedness. I am Moose, trying out a new camera setup, and hopefully it'll be a little less shaky and a little bit more in my face and not fall off like I've had in previous videos. So I wanted to talk today about morale boosters. So for any of you who have been deployed, you can attest that when you're constantly doing things in an SHTF kind of scenario, right? Because let's be realistic, you're in a combat zone. Yeah, you've got your food, you've got your water, you've got your name, your other things for the most part, but you don't have that security, that happiness, and it drones on. It wears on you. Being in Helene, it wore on us. I mean, every day you wake up, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. As soon as the sun starts to peek out, you're already getting set up for the day. It's, you know, lay out the solar panels, get the coffee ready, write down your list of shit you got to get done. You know, it's constant. And so it starts to wear on you. So one of the things that I know I really enjoyed a ton when I was deployed, both to combat as well as to my other non-combat deployment, was little morale boosters. Now, those typically took the form of care packages, and we got care packages from family and friends during Helene. It took a while to get here. I mean, we had power back on by the time they actually showed up, but it was still the thought that counts, right? And huge boost. And it doesn't have to be something major, but I want you to kind of think about it and maybe be a little bit forward thinking and look at what are some of the things to you that just are that thing, that one item. Sorry, waving at my 77-year-old friend I made during the hurricane who was dying for a cup of coffee. This gal goes out every single day for a walk, usually several miles, and she always brings trash bags, and she cleans up the trash that she finds on the yard. Like, they just don't make them. They don't make people like that anymore. She inspired me to do that too. So I try and take care of stuff. Like if there's debris in the road, I was removing debris because she doesn't have to. She's 77 years old. She's still out there getting it. So anyway, morale boosters. So when I was in Iraq, some of the biggest morale boosters that I got were gifts from my family. Anything that had to do from my kids, and then little food items. I'm not gonna lie, you didn't build this physique overnight, right? It was years of shitty eating. So I was a very big fan of little bits of food, right? And my wife sent out, I remember it was right around Easter time, she sent out Cadbury eggs. Now remember, Cadbury eggs, chocolate, doesn't typically do very well in the summer or in the desert, especially in the heat. But around the time frame it was sent out, she sent them out in like February or March. There was very limited heat, like it wasn't as bad, so the chocolate actually made it. She sent like a 4-pack, and that might as well have been Christmas for me. There was in Christmas one year, we had one of my NCOs, one of my sergeants, his wife sent out blankets, like the not felt, I guess it's the best way to describe them, the little felt, like knotted blankets where they cut the ends of them, and she sent those out for every single one in the group, including me. I wasn't expecting anything. In fact, I didn't even know that they were doing this. But we were in Eastern Europe at the time, and it was flipping cold, and just having that one little blanket, oh man, you want to talk about a morale boost? You're like, now I can snuggle up at night. Felt great, right? During Helene, it was very interesting to see what the things were that other people had for their morale boost. So speaking of my 77-year-old friend who's out picking up trash right now, her name is Rosemary, by the way. Rosemary's thing was that she wanted coffee. That was her thing. My next door neighbor also wanted coffee. I mean, I've already mentioned multiple times, for him, getting through life was that cup of coffee in the morning. So he drove an hour and some change one way outside of the area to go get his cup of coffee until I showed up and started making coffee, in which case he was like, okay, much better. For my kids, the big things was comfort foods. Sounds crazy, but you know, we don't buy a whole lot of sugar in our house. Like we try to stick to a pretty natural. When I say pretty natural, I mean as best we can, right? And for them, it was no stuff. It was Twinkies. We never get Twinkies ever, but because we watch Zombieland and they, you know, you've got Woody Harrelson's characters all about getting Twinkies. That was kind of like our apocalypse food, right? For my wife and I, the big thing for us was ice. I love cold drinks. I don't care what time of year it is. I usually have ice in my drinks because it's a luxury for me. Again, go to Iraq, there's not a ton of ice. Now, when you're deployed, it depends on where you're at. But there's not a ton of ice in your stuff. And therefore, having ice in your drink, when I tell you the luxury that was, because of the fact that it was a cold drink, especially 2 or 3 days into Helene, you're hot, you're sticky, your house is 80 plus degrees, 90, 85 degrees, there's no air conditioning, and I got that heat dump by being able to drink some ice water. So how do I prepare for that in the future, right? So we have the hard ice cube trays, like the ones we used to have back in the 90s before they came up with all these crappy ice machines for our fridges that all break. And so we started using those and putting them into our freezer, which had a twofold effect. One, once it was cold, the ice would help keep everything else cold. And then two, we could pop 2 or 3 ice cubes in and have that cold water all day. So phenomenal morale booster. During the wintertime, if you're cold, having, again, been deployed, having that little jet boil, being able to turn that jet boil on, warm up some water, and then make some instant coffee or make some ramen noodles. That was a big thing for my guys. Was a huge boost. When you're in the middle of, let's see, we were in a field exercise. I can't remember. I think we were in Germany at that stage. It's freezing cold. It's February. It's slushy. It's gross. And I was able to provide hot water for the guys for their coffees and things like that. The difference in their capabilities was threefold, because now mentally they're like, okay, I got my little thing, and I know if I keep working at it, I can have a little bit more of this thing later. It's awesome. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be food. It can be something else. Again, I have letters from home for my kids, or artwork, or things like that. It was a huge thing. But it's a little bit harder to hold on to that if you're in a bad area. They stayed at in my hooch. So having those little wins, those little victories was a big deal. Some people it's tobacco. Again, not my thing, but having that, being able to, put that dip in or smoke that cigarette, that's their thing. Like, that's their one comfort item. But unfortunately, there's a lot of folks who are also, pretty heavily addicted to alcohol or other things, or they just need that one little sip to take the edge off the day. And you know what? If that's your thing, cool, got it. If you're just having that one to kind of end the day, but you got to start looking at it now and make sure that you have those supplies set aside for whenever it happens for you. Inside some of my survival kits, almost all of them, they have a little bit of a sweet treat somewhere, because I'm not the only one eating. And being able to have something as stupid as like space ice cream, like the dehydrated like ice cream bars. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they're not that good in my opinion, but my kids and my wife love them. And whenever you've been eating rice and beans and other stuff that you're like, ugh, I cannot eat another thing of rice, I cannot eat another thing of beans, and you have the ability to give them a little treat, the morale boost that provides is not just psychological, but it's physical too. But I'm a big fan of both. Hey, if it affects your brain to get you to do something or makes you feel better, you're going to perform better. So yeah, I would just encourage you to look at where you can add some of these in. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy a crap ton of chocolate, because that's probably not the right answer, right? Especially if you're in a hot, humid climate and your power goes out, guess what? That chocolate goes out too. But start to look for little things that are morale boosters that you can set aside and go, you know what, this little treat, if I'm having a really crappy day or I'm really worn down, I can put that ice cube in my drink. And boy, does that just make you feel like, okay, take 10 minutes and just realizing, hey, I've got this and I'm going to make it through because this is really damn good. Believe it or not, it does help. All right, that's all I got tonight, or today, I should say. Have a great day, stay safe, and we'll out here.